Constantium has been running for over 6.5 years, and it's had over 100,000 players join. It even had a whitelist for a few years. But how did Constantium begin? Did Phantom Captain, the owner of Constantium, decide to make an Anarchy server, or did it start as something else? Let's discover the answers together and dive into the server's early history and how it became popular. Phantom started Constantium on the 14th of February 2016. While speaking to him about the early days, he said that his goal was to make a server with no rules. But what made him want to do that? Well, he explained that he used to run a server for 2 years that had many rules and many plugins. He became tired of being the only moderator and being pulled into people's arguments over plots, building materials and other issues. So the plan was to make a server with as little administrator interference as possible. It was around this time that the 2B2T exodus was building up on the server. Players like myself were discovering that the owner of 2B2T gave certain players special permissions, even access to player files. They knew where we were, where our beds were, what we had in our inventory. It was the final straw, and when we finally had enough, it was the day 2B2T almost died, and we went searching for other Anarchy servers to call home. And before we continue, a huge thank you to everyone who have subscribed so far, and for all of you that will hit that button now. And just like 2B2T, many Minecraft servers attracted players by advertising on places such as Reddit's MC Servers subreddit, 4chan, and the Minecraft forums. It was in April 2016 that I saw a post mentioning Constantium on 4chan's V board for video games. To this day, it's still mentioned on that board and the VG board. You can even still see some of the MC server posts Phantom made on his Reddit profile. The 4chan post I saw simply said it was a new server with no rules, and it had an IP to connect to instead of a domain name. I decided to try it as I had already played on a handful of no rules servers in April 2016, and they were all not as advertised. When I joined Constantium, there were around 4 or 5 players who mostly built simple buildings within 2,000 blocks from spawn. There were no lava casts, there were no ruins. Over the next few days I learnt that the admin was called Phantom Captain, and the website back then displayed one of his old email addresses. Over time, the website would have many different designs. Here you can see how they've updated over the years. After speaking to Phantom for a few days, I learnt that he used to run a server with rules, plots and many plugins. He grew tired of the constant reports, arguments and work needed, so he decided to start a server that had as little admin interference as possible. It would be up to the players to stay safe, and if their base was griefed, they'd have to deal with it. I explained to Phantom where I had come from and the reason for leaving. I explained all the exploits that were around at the time and how bases could be found very easily, even just by the sound of thunder. We worked together to patch these vulnerabilities that we knew about from 2B2T. I told my fellow 2B2T players about Constantium, people like Spartan512, Mbash, FTS and the members of the La Rosa base. We joined Constantium together and went on to build 400 base. You can learn more about that period of time by watching my video on 400 base.
Backstory on this server is called 2b2t.org. You've probably heard of it. It's a 6-year-old Minecraft server that's been running on the same map for 6 years, since 2010, I believe.
June the 1st of 2016, a date that would change the course of history on 2B2T and in turn make Constantium more popular than Phantom Captain could ever imagine. Thousands of new Anarchy players flooded onto 2B2T, filling the player slots instantly. It wasn't long until 2B2T went offline for some time as Housemaster worked on getting it upgraded to handle so many new players. Anyone who had issues joining 2B2T would look for alternative Anarchy servers to play on. As the clone servers didn't exist yet, or some had only just begun, Constantium was the place many players went to. Over time, many groups would form on Constantium, either during the temp maps where everyone would be together on a small world, or during one of the many events on the server, from virtual weddings to Christmas parties. There would be groups who just went around killing anyone they saw, groups that would build outposts for map art trading, groups that would build highways, and even groups that would build milestones on those highways. People even met other players off the server in places like Discord, where they could become friends with other players without needing a temp map or another event. Way back on 2B2T in 2013 and 2014, the only method of communication many of us had outside of Minecraft was Skype, and this was mainly used for private base chats, so you wouldn't really meet anyone else other than joining an incursion or when there were issues on 2B2T and it turned into a temp map. So the creations of programs like Discord also helped Constantium and other servers become more popular by allowing entire groups to hear about the servers and start playing on them. And that leads us to today. It's been 6.5 years since Constantium started, and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere for a long time. The hardware has been upgraded over 6 times to expand the storage, change to SSD and then M2 drives, and upgrade the CPU. And it's all been paid for using donations, and has never gone without the bill being unpaid, even for 1 month in the last 6.5 years. So what's the future for Constantium? Well, if you've seen one of my latest videos, you'll know that work on 1.17 is happening behind the scenes, and hopefully soon we'll have an announcement on the progress. 1.17 will bring so many new blocks, mobs and biomes to the server. It's something I'm really looking forward to. But until then, we'll continue to play 1.12 until we go out into the unknown world of Anarchy 1.17. I'd like to thank Phantom Captain, who has spent time answering my questions via email the last few days, and thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please do leave a like, leave a comment. Your engagement really helps the channel grow. See you in the next video.